Hello, our lovely Girl Awakening listeners. Do we have something special for you today? A little behind the scenes Girl Awakening. Amanda and I were lucky enough to go on Claire Burt's The Dreammaker podcast, so you guys can find out a little bit about us. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome everybody to another Dreammakers podcast. It's Clary here. I am very honoured. I'm really excited in my heart to be here with the beautiful Jo and Amanda from the Girl Awakening podcast. How are you, babes?
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we're a bit excited to be on the other side of the mic, to be honest.
Yeah, how often, because you guys have got a beautiful podcast, Girl Awakening. We'll talk all about what it is in creation for you guys, but how often are you guests on a podcast?
Me, not so much. I'm usually talking to clients and this and that, but Jo's she's the celebrity.
Not at all. But this is our first, so we're breaking our virginity today.
Yeah.
Oh, like first doing it together.
Yeah.
Last week, I put a podcast out with two of my friends, a couple, Cara and Toff West, and for them, it was both of them doing their first podcast together with me, and we nailed it. So I'm sure this will be beautiful as well. So, let's start here. We're on the Dreammakers podcast. You have a beautiful podcast called Girl Awakening. In fact, I want to share just maybe. Oh, I'm going to do what I did on the other podcast. Amanda, why don't you tell everyone who Jo is and what you love about Jo?
Oh, this is fabulous.
Jo, you can do that for Amanda as well. So whatever you want to share that will give our listeners a vibe of who each of you are and what you're doing.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
emotional.
Yeah, I know. Like literally, it's like like brain goes through all the memories and the heart just starts thumping away. It's well, so Jo and I, we've known each other for a very long time, in and out of different experiences. I guess you could say, I want to say 3D existences. The journey of what it means to be a mother and in businesses and girlfriend circles and things. But oh wow, so Jo is an amazing woman who is an incredible mother and has a heart as big as Australia. I'm going to get it all teary. She's a creator of the Sacred Sister Project, which works with young girls in schools, and an incredibly important program for keeping alive what it is to be a young woman or a young girl growing into a young woman. So that's a really big part of who Jo is, probably next in line to her being, a mother, I'd say. Yeah. And she's one of those people, I think, that just creates change by the nature of who she is, because she doesn't really take any bullshit. But she's a Libran, so she does it in a way that's not always confrontational. You don't always see it coming.
So beautiful. I can't wait to record this and just keep it somewhere.
And she's in my heart, she's just like the most amazing. She's a sister, she's a soul sister, but she's a sister as well. So incredibly beautiful woman in my life as well.
That's beautiful. And how long? Oh, looky, kissing and hugging. I love it so much. How long before we move on to Jo introducing Amanda? Amanda, how long have you guys been connected, and how long have you been doing this Girl Awakening project together?
So we've known each other for over 20 years. We met when probably like another lifetime ago now, when I had an urban spa, if you want to call it that, in an local area. And Jo was the practice manager for the business downstairs. And that was probably when we really got to know each other really well. We'd sort of known each other through mutual friends a little bit there. And fast forward to Girl Awakening, which was 2 years in September. That was born on our morning magical walks along the Esplanade at Miami here, just where we do what we do the best and talk around all things women,
Change,
life,
Yeah,
soul
consciousness,
journey, and you know, with the sun and the moon often on one side and in the ocean there's bound to be some kind of alchemy involved, and came up in conversation around our literal conversations should be shared a bit broader than they were, but than just us and the ocean, and Girl Awakening was born to sort of share more with people and bring more of what we enjoyed being together, I guess, in each other's company, in other women into that, and sharing that with, you know, a wider community as well, because there's just so much, as you know, Clary, with community and as a podcast and your community, there's so much gold in just connecting and what you have to share together. Yeah, it's so interesting and so awakening, and it moves you through stuff as well, so much more than you can do on your own. You know, we try to do so much on our own.
Oh, we so do. And I'm so glad I asked this question, and I will not forget to, we'll move to Joey introducing Amanda, but sharing this picture is so beautiful. And I have a few people in my life, but two in particular, one of my besties for years. We have just lived, worked, been mums, been creators side by side, and we do beach walks every second week together when our kids are with their dad, and we just walk for like so long, and we just talk, and so often we're like, damn, we should record this. Like, there's so much gold that comes from that level of connection and truth and vulnerability. And I think there's a real this connection that we can have with other women when we can show up in our full self and be like, here's what's happening now, and this is what we're moving through now. And it's so beautiful. Even your story helps me reflect upon that. And as well as I've got my sister as well. My sister's 12 years younger than me, but we are in conversation and connection all of the time. And yeah, I mean, actually we do record podcasts together because we're like, people need to hear this. So yeah.
It's so damn juicy, isn't it? You know, there's so much, as you say, the gold. And I think sometimes we you know, one of the hot words is container, and I think often we put ourselves in such a limiting container, and conversations are so freeing. You know, and when you have people that you can undress with so freely in conversation and be so just travel through all the things, and
I feel like it creates a sense of safety, right? Like a safety that you're not in this alone, and you've got someone kind of literally walking side by side, you two doing that together, but with community as well, and what you're creating with Girl Awakening, the conversations that you're having with people. That's safety.
Yeah, we're so lucky.
I really get why Dr. Joe Dispenza, with his walking meditations that he's been, you know, millions of people around the world have been doing, why that people are resonating with him so much, because the movement, natural physical movement, it's like it's so cathartic to talk and walk.
Yeah, I feel like my something's wrong. Something is wrong if I'm missing out on that aspect in my life. So yeah, let's move on, because I'm about to keep asking you more questions about that.
It's been quiet this long for such a long time. Already.
It is your turn, Joey. Tell us about Amanda.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so like Amanda said, we've known each other for, you know, over 20 years. And you know, when we go back into those years, I was never like a bestie with Amanda. She was just the lady that I knew and I loved. I just loved this woman. She's like, I always call her like Mother Nature, because she's always got people's best at heart always. She's just so open-hearted. She's always vulnerable when you speak to her. Look, it's hard even to put words in to who she is, because it's not even like a woman. She's like an angel. She's like a butterfly or a dragonfly or a flower, or she encapsulates nature at its finest, and she holds this space that I haven't met anyone, and I've met many people in my lifetime that you can be with and you can basically say anything to, and there's no judgment in the space. It's like so liberating to be with her, and she's just amazing. I love her. I love her, and I love doing the podcast with her, and she's been my greatest gift, as in a reflection of being a bit more loose for me. Like, okay. we get what we most need, and it's like she's really kind of loose around things, and I say that in the most beautiful way. She's really free around things, where I'm really structured and really, kind of dogmatic with things. And being with her and spending so much more time with her, I feel so much more relaxed, and I feel so much more allowing, and she just teaches me so much about myself all the time.
I love that. What a beautiful match made in heaven, right?
Yeah. I say that she's like my husband. I've got two people in my life that challenge me, and it's my husband and her. In the most beautiful, authentic, caring way. It's like being nurtured, but they're not going to let you get away with shit, and they're going to hold you accountable. I've got her and my hubby that both do that, and so I can't really avoid it. It's like right there. But I asked for that too. At the time I asked to step up and wanted to be held accountable, and wanted to be told when I was fucking around and all of that. And I've got it in two people that are just so beautiful.
Yeah, isn't it interesting how we receive the things we've asked for so long, but often in surprise packages?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you two are so beautiful. You're actually making me think now I want to make it a real thing with my besties. Another side podcast. Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about Girl Awakening. Let's talk about Girl Awakening. I would love to hear from you guys, whoever wants to share first. What does awakening mean to you guys? What does it look like? What does it feel like? I know that's what the whole purpose of the podcast is, looking into that, discovering that, having conversations around that. But so from however many, you can let me know how many conversations you've had so far on the podcast. Actually, I would like to hear from each of you what your thought on awakening is and why it's important for us to be having this conversation.
Well, for starters, it's been an awakening process for us throughout the podcast, because the reason why we wanted to do the podcast is our walks and our talks and us opening up into spaces that probably we hadn't been before, and we were realizing that we were having massive breakthroughs by just that. So we thought, what if we get other women on to share their story of their own awakening and how that looks? And what we found is that everyone is different. Every single human being has their own unique story to tell. And it doesn't matter whether you have $1 million in the bank or you have $5 in the bank. Each story is unique and beautiful in its unraveling. It's like we could sit with any woman, we could go and grab a lady from off the street right now and get her to tell her story, and we'd be in tears, we'd resonate, we'd reflect, it'd be something we've never heard before. And that has been, for me personally, that has been the most beautiful thing about the podcast. And walking away learning something about myself through the guest in each podcast. Now, in saying that, we've had some really confronting people on as well, where it's been like really deep, and we've had to be really careful about how we hold the space. We've had to go in and really hold a big space with, I'd like to think that we're in a space of no judgment, but sometimes it can be like, oh, fuck, I wasn't ready for that, blah, blah, blah. But it's most of the time between the two of us, we hold a really great space for them to be able to share. And then we've had other people that just don't feel like going deep. you know, and it's like, okay, so we need to move somewhere for them to feel safe, that they can actually share more of their story for others. And I think that's where we really try and help the guest to, and the thing that we've learned the most too is that sometimes sharing the most vulnerable parts of ourselves is actually being there for someone that we don't even know more than ourselves, you know. And that's where the power lies, in the vulnerability. And that's, I suppose, the one thing that we've learned too through the podcast is that the podcast where we go the deepest is usually the one we have the most feedback from, because there's so many people out there that are resonating or that are hurting or that are seeing themselves in the guest, and it's been so beautiful.
You're like rubbing your like chest as you're saying this. It's getting a little redder and warmer, and I'm like, is that like a heart thing or a throat thing? And you know, I for me, when I start doing that, there's just I start rubbing my heart when I think when there's a vulnerability, when you're starting to have a little bit of an edginess and stuff. And I appreciate that what you guys are doing to open and hold space for people to have true connection through these authentic and vulnerable conversations, and sharing the reality of what's happening or has happened in their life is there's a big responsibility in that, right? I can see and I can feel that. And also the other part that's coming through is we can only do what we can do, but you know, in every single moment we do the very best that we can, and kind of trusting in the unfolding and evolution of that. But I agree with you. I feel like we need to be having these conversations that are helping people to see themselves in others, so they feel like less alone. I imagine that's a huge part of that awakening, or as we, you know, continue to talk about that. The way that I see awakening, or what's coming to me right now, is more of coming home to the truth of who you are and the truth of who you want to be, right? That would be my thought on it in this moment. And we can get so caught up in our own head and our own story, in the immediate 3D human stuff that is happening for us right now, and we forget, like we think, I'm like, I think something's wrong with me, and I think other people, other women, other men can think, oh, this is just a me problem versus, you know, I am the you know, what you guys are sharing is something that's resonating with people's hearts, so they're reminded that they're not alone. So it's easier maybe to go there, to be a little bit more authentic. And even if it's not coming on the podcast to have a conversation with you, because that feels a little bit too shine a light on vulnerability. But yeah, like when next time you're hanging out with your bestie or your sister or your partner or your kids, how can you show up in that moment and share a little bit more of your heart, a little bit more of your truth, even if it feels a little messy or dark.
And you hit the nail on the head when you said making it okay for others and not making it wrong. That was part of the reason why we when we talked about it, because I think a lot of women think that they have to do it a certain way, or talk a certain way, or look a certain way, or be taking this or be taking that, or have experienced this, and it's not. None of it's true.
It's the rawness of how we, you know, we want to continue to grow and evolve Girl Awakening, but we also want to always maintain the authenticity and the rawness, if you want to put it that way. And because of what that enables people just to be, and not have things be too curated. Sometimes we're asked if, you know, people can have an indication of, you know, what's the format, what's the plan, what's the questions, this and that, and I'm always happy to support people with that. But we also say that we love to keep it in the moment and going with the flow of what comes through, because then that's the beauty of it. Not having it be too curated means that people really get to be authentic and honest, and to feel what it is that they are really wanting to gift through sharing their story.
Oh, sorry, go back.
I was just going to say, just reminded me too of, we've had so many guests that say to us afterwards, something activated in me when I left. Like, you know, when we're all really connected and in the flow of things, something else is opening somewhere else. And for all of us. And it's like we've had so many guests go away, and then we'll look at their Instagram or something, and they've completely changed what they're doing, and they've gone a new path or something. And then they'll say, something happened after I did the podcast. I don't know what, but I had this realization that I should have been doing it this way, or like something activates when and I'm sure that happens for you too. With I can feel that you're so
coming through that, because you're talking through the heart space. It just enables so much to happen. And for me, the awakening part of what we do with the podcast is very much in that space around
activation.
It's activation, but it's like it's like a DNA thing as well. Like it happens on all the levels, like because we're in the heart space, which you so beautifully open up and want to honor as well. It enables so much more. Like you don't get stuck in the head with what you're talking about, and often people are sharing experiences, and I'm going through all these different, and I know Jo does as well, times in my life when very much my version of what they're sharing has happened, or it's like we're clearing out on a cellular level. The DNA is changing, the souls are moving forward together. It's like the activation is happening in so many ways. Another part of that when we, the guests feeling that, but our community, when they share back around how listening to that podcast has shifted something for them, or they had a similar experience and it really freed them out, and they let go of something that's been stuck for them for a long time, or they saw something that was holding them in a space that they didn't want to be in. They didn't realize they didn't want to be in anymore. And for me, that's an extension of what the awakening part of what the podcast is about as well, is how we all shift and change through what comes out through the airways and through that, from that heart.
I'm like, walking in my chair a little bit, listening to all this. I have so many ways to go around this. Yes, frequency, energy, sharing energy, resonance. Resonance is a resonance of energy, right? And I think that's why I get so excited about a podcast, a conversation, sharing heart space. When I do mentoring, I love live mentoring containers because it's a shared energy in real time. And I can see, I'm always fascinated, like, how did we come together? And I know that we came together because you did an interview with Kirsten Morrison, and I was like, I love Kirsten, and that's how that connection started. But I think it's bigger than that. I think the universe pulls us together because there's this similar kind of connection and resonance, and then we get to co-create in this space together, and someone's going to listen to this podcast and there'll be something in this for them, and that's the activation. That's the moment of awakening, right? That stuff gets me so excited. And I think
it's the amplification, and like we've had since the beginning, like one of the first things we did together was we did this tiny little recording together. I think it was like 20 minutes. It's our shortest one probably. And I remember some of the things we talked about in there, like being in awe of the cosmos or a mountain, and how some of the most painful times in our life was when we felt alive, and some of the things we shared in that little moment has been reflected through the podcast in different ways, but also in other people's podcasts as well. Like we'll record a podcast and it goes out, and then a few weeks later we're hearing on another person's podcast or on YouTube or something, a very similar theme or resonance, as you're saying, is coming through, and you just go, yes, we're all connected. And literally what you're just saying, like about with yourself, we're co-creating, we're here together creating more than we can know, but it's amplifying that voice, that resonance, that energy that needs to shift or is being welcomed to shift around.
It is actually really exciting when you start to think about, I think about it and talk about it, like the ripple effect. Like the ripple effect is so real. I feel like every single conversation we have, every moment in our life is is a moment that is in service of us, of our growth. And, you know, in dream maker world, it's like you have a dream, you have a vision, you have this heart desire to go somewhere that is pulling you forward. And then all of the moments in your life are little, they're in service of you, whether they're great moments like this or challenging moments.
Yes.
And it's like, there's something in this for me and for the greater good of everybody, to help me go where I want to go, to help you go where you want to go, to help whoever's listening to this receive just whatever they need to receive today, to have a shift in energy or a shift in perspective that helps an awakening or wake themselves up to a little bit more of who they are and what they want. And that's exciting. I love having this conversation.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, because it's not, you know, people have always, I think, looked at the word awakening as something, you know, spiritual and all of that. And yes, it is. And it has all those aspects to it, but it's also very much the earth that we're living on now. You know, we are becoming so much more aware of connection and feelings, and
we're all connected.
Yeah.
We're literally so connected that we just,
it's
someone sneezes, we're feeling it, but we don't know we're feeling it.
It's becoming a very normal state, you know, talk about too. It's like, it's not something that, you know, you have to dress with hippie beads and all that anymore. It's like you can talk to anybody in any working environment and they will understand what you're talking about. It's becoming so much more mainstream.
I love that. And to go back to one of the things you were talking about before, in terms of the conversations that you're having with people, and your conversations are specifically with women, if I'm correct, and well, girl awakening, yes, that would make sense. But this opening up this permission that you don't need to look a certain way, act a certain way, present a certain way, to be curated in any way, that is definitely something that I live and breathe.
Yeah.
I live and breathe because I can't and don't want to do it any other way. And I feel like part of my role in the world as a mentor for people in business, helping them get to the heart of what's essential and create a way forward that's aligned with their heart, the only way to do that is to be the most authentic version of yourself in every single moment. And I still think that people can hear that and know that, but struggle living or showing up in business or on social media or maybe at a corporate job in that way. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts on that are, in terms of, we can know that authenticity is where it's at, right? And then there's still so much
Unworthiness.
Yes. That's talk to that.
No, it's
Oh, well, forever. This was one of the things when we first started, was the challenge to actually create the date where we first did our first podcast, was about both of us being heard and seen in by people that, you know, out there. When so much is flooding from my brain. Like, for me personally, it's been a very big journey about being seen and being worthy, and speaking my truth, because I don't have a problem speaking my truth, but I have a problem with saying it loud enough, I think, you know. And I know there's been a lot of, like, if I do healing work, like, there's just lifetimes of persecution and all this kind of things that that come through. So for me, it's been what we were speaking about before with our guests and our community being part of the awakening and the ripple effect. For me personally, being brave and stepping up and just speaking myself has been very cathartic and very awakening, and it's given me strength through a lot of experiences that I've been having recently. And I think, you know, it's so there's so much richness in just being
filtered.
Yeah, that's the word. Unfiltered. I'm trying not to say made up, because I don't want to judge anybody that loves their makeup or loves this or that, because it's like putting on your favorite piece of jewelry or whatever. It's just an expression of who we are. But often we just rely on things to be that shield and that protection, like a man having a beard or something, not because sometimes he loves the beard, but because it gives him a little bit of a shield, against the world, or to be unfiltered and just be able to be yourself takes a lot of courage, because people are always so willing to want to judge how you look, judge what you're wearing, instead of actually listening to what it is that you're saying, or what that you have to share, or what it is that you're bringing through. So I think we have such a gift to recognize that we are just all different. We are all the same, but we are all different.
I love that. And it feels so worth like reiterating this. The worthiness piece is the thing that makes it so. We know about authenticity. We know it. We know there's the power in authenticity, and that's the place where there's real power, there's real freedom in showing up in every moment in our authenticity. And then there's this worthiness piece and judgment, self-judgment, judgment from others that kind of comes into that. And I've had so many people comment to me about the way I do my business that, oh, you're a little bit rough and ready sometimes, aren't you? And I'm like, I used to find that very confronting, and then the more I just kept dropping back into myself and into my heart and into my truth, and what is my role here and what do I need to do. And 97% of the time, this is such a good conversation, this might be the first time I put makeup on since probably the last time I did a podcast with somebody that I didn't know. But I do like this dream stream activation call every Tuesday morning, and most of the time they get me out of the ocean with wet hair or out of the shower, and these are people who are paying me money to mentor them, right? And I'm like, you are not paying me to have good hair. You are paying for I don't know, you're paying for the energy, the transmission, the clarity, the drive that comes from those conversations. But there's a version of me, I can just go back a couple of years that I would always do my hair and always put on makeup. And, there's spaces that you feel like you need to present in a certain way. And if you have a look at my socials, I think, again, 90% of it is me just like in the car, out of the water, or just going for a walk, or being in my natural, authentic self and in my life.
In your element. And
I find that the ripple effect on that is that I move about the world in my home and going out with my friends and all that kind of stuff, and I am way more of myself, way more of the time. And I think that starts to stack up. And that's why it's easier than to say, get on a call. But this morning I was like, I don't really know these girls. I don't want to be too much of a ragamuffin. Let's just a nice top and do a little bit of makeup. But it's I'm interested in that kind of conversation for us all as creators who are putting our work out into the world, also, how we present. So any thoughts on that?
Well, I think social media has had the biggest impact of all when it comes, if we're talking realistically in the world that we live in today, social media has really taken that to the next level, with how we look. And we've become a very judgmental society just through social media. When it comes to face-to-face value and all that, I think it's a different story, because we can actually probably feel each other more in those circumstances. But it takes me 5 minutes to get ready kind of girl. I'm not, I looked at your Instagram this morning where you had a towel around yourself and you're in the car. And I'm like, I said to Amanda, I love her already. It's like, I'd rather die with a full heart, with wrinkles and saggy tits and all of that stuff, knowing that I've tried my hardest to open my heart as much as I can, then, worry about getting up each morning about, what part of my body I hate this morning, or what part of my face I don't like looking at. And most of the time I look at myself in the mirror and it's not the person that I feel inside. You know, I feel like I'm 18. I don't feel like I'm
Our biological age
Yes.
is 18, yes.
you know, I feel like young and like I'm a go-getter, and I don't look like I feel, you know, and I feel amazing. I feel like I could do anything. And when Amanda was talking about before, you know, I'm the one that will say, I will just say it. I would say that I am brave. I am a brave type of person. I don't hold back much. And that's the beauty with Amanda. That's taught me that there's ways that you can be brave and, like you were saying, and jump and do all those things, but also have the care for those around you as you're being assertive in those ways, you know, and being able to, I speak my truths all the time. I don't hold back, but I have become much more conscious and aware of the people around me and how I communicate. It's, you know, changing the way that I communicate, but still being assertive, but probably in a more loving and caring way. So I've had to change and move things, but not change
who you are,
who I am.
I love this conversation, and I think about this often because I feel like I will not let something go if something needs to be said. People don't necessarily appreciate that.
Yeah. Because sometimes they don't get what you're saying the first time, so you've got to say it 3 different ways.
And with more clarity, I so often, I don't know, I have different family. I've got a big family, different kind of family members or friends, or often people would say, oh my God, I can't believe you're going to follow through and say something about that. I would be annoyed by that, but I'm just going to sit back and not rock the boat. And I'm like, I'm not wanting to make my life and everybody else's life uncomfortable, but there is something in me that is no longer willing to let abuse or things that seem genuinely unreasonable, unfair go without saying something about it. But I'm often then called to figure out a way to do it that is might be received a little bit better.
Yeah. Oh, you. Well, yeah. I think that's why people love Celeste Barber so much, because, you know, I don't know about her as a person, but as a social media person, she's like dance in the face of, you know, being
curvy.
Yeah, a joke or someone to make fun of, if you like, but just pointing out the difference between no filter and, you know, how those underwear really feel when you have them on. And how the perfect people portray things because it's so perfect, you know, and giving people something just to get a bit of space to be able to laugh. And why do we try to compare ourselves to others so much? And I think we bloody love Gigi Amazonia as well, because, you know, bare feet on the red carpet, looking incredible, and the same incredible woman out there in the bush haven't showered for three weeks and still looking bloody beautiful, and the spirit of her heart and life radiating out of her eyes and her face. And you know, people like that, I think, just get welcomed so well. Still get a lot of criticism. People welcome it because it's like,
I feel that.
I feel that.
And I think, Jo, I'm not sure whether, I know, Amanda, you told us your idea, definition, awakening. Forgive me if I got this wrong. No, Amanda, you told me. Jo, can you share anything like specific? And you were talking before, like, I just say it how it is.
Yeah.
If I've got a truth, I'm going to say it. And what was coming through to me is, what brave thing, what truth is in your heart that you want to tell the world right now that you want more people to know about?
Oh, wow, that actually made me emotional when you said that. Well, I think the one thing that I'm learning about myself right now in the moment is this is going to be hard to explain, hence what I'm about to share. And I think it's about what you shared too, Claire, is that the biggest thing that we can give ourselves and others is understanding of who we are, and then having understanding of others and who they are, and that we are not all the same. You know, there is that part of we are all connected, but that doesn't mean that we're all the same. And I think as soon as we let ourselves out of a box, or let ourselves have some space around who we are, it allows us to see others in that same space. So for me personally, what I've been going through lately is mass understanding for other people's journeys. And you know, people see things differently to the way I see them, and it's being able to allow them to have that experience or that vision or that understanding of whatever it is that they're going through or looking at or experiencing, and that it's not my experiencing, but I can still love them without judging where they are or putting onto them the way that I think it should be. And
yeah.
You know, it creates sorry.
Yeah.
Good.
That has been a big shift for me, to let people off the hook and let myself off the hook. You know, I think we're really hard on ourselves and we're hard on others, and people are already struggling enough, and they don't need to struggle anymore, and I don't need to struggle anymore. So the more that I can allow myself off the hook and
give that to
others as well. And there's so much love and space in that space, you know, it just creates more space.
Thank you. And I feel like that was for me.
You're welcome.
That's so beautiful and exactly. Yeah, I know that that's going to resonate with so many people who are listening to this, but also you just spoke directly to my heart for something that I really need to hear and work on as well. And I'm seeing, hearing, considering this, and you just articulated it so beautifully for me. So thank you. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you for holding the space for me to be able to share that. Yeah, I'm having a hot flush now.
Yeah.
I'm getting activated. Creating more space.
Yeah, creating more.
I love it. And you know, let's talk about being activated, right? This whole conversation is activating. The podcast you're creating is activating. Every conversation that we have with everybody, if we're as conscious and present as we can be, is most likely activating in terms of where we want to go. And I want to hear from you guys your, like, the dream maker journey when it comes to bringing Girl Awakening to life. So one of the things I talk about so much in the Dream Stream or Dream Makers or anything on repeat is ideation into reality. And there are so many people who are dreaming and ideating and having a brilliant idea of something that they want to do one day versus taking the brave, courageous action, take one step, another door opens, take one step, another door opens, which you are now living into. But yeah, I want to have this conversation kind of on repeat. How do you go from ideation, dream world into a dream maker and bringing something into reality, and also the truth of how uncomfortable that is at times?
Well, for me, that's like I literally, you're just speaking my other life, which is my health and wellness company, that's going for a rebirth at the moment, and I'm literally.
I'm going to jump in quick to say that it's amazing. It's amazing. It's like we're like sitting here going, why isn't this like, you know, like her products? I know Amanda and her authenticity. We're talking about being authentic. You Her products are fucking incredible. Like, I hope I can swear on this
Yeah,
podcast.
too late.
Too late. Of course you can.
Her skincare range, her supplement range, everything that she does for the greater good, you know, right down to every ingredient, and it's all organic. And like, this is not about that, but I know how much hard work goes into her products and what she does. And then you just see these big businesses come along and you just go, you know, but it's back to what you said, you know, you have to keep clearing and you have to keep working on it and finding that new way through. And yes, and that's what she does. So I'm going to hand it back to her.
Yeah.
But I had to do that. I had to do that. Sorry.
Nothing like a good sister cheerleader.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think you know, where we walk, coming back to our morning walks in the morning, there's this staircase, and the council's painted it rainbow with this heart in the and so what you were just saying about sharing from the ideation to the realization, the actuation of the dreams and things like that, that's a chasm in between, you know, for many of us. A lot of us, some people have that fire where they just go boom, 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 and roll on, and the charisma to gather the crowd, and they just steamroll through into realizing things, or people want to be there backing them and a part of what that journey is about. And they're working just as hard as the person standing next to them. There's not negating anything about the effort or the energy that all takes. But I think what I've been learning recently is that because of the times changing so much, our traditional pathways just aren't there. You know, we've been called to take that step and not see the step, you know. It's step after step after step. Literally, I just shared a post yesterday of the rainbow stairs on my personal socials, and it was more for me just to remind me of, like, you know, and it was just like taking a step one day at a time, just, you know, to keep going with the things, and being back in that space of what you shared before, Clary, was around being in your heart and going through with that 97% of what feels right, and outside of the, you know, the doctrines of what it looks like to be in business or what it looks like to be in any particular role, whether it's been a mother or a sister or whatever, going with that. Everything I feel for me is coming back to that heart space and creating from there, and just having that faith, that belief that that's what's going to get me through, no matter what that looks like, to be where I'm meant to be. So it's step by step.
It literally is step by step, and I was talking about that in the dream stream this morning. It's like, and we've heard it said a million times in a million ways. Everything you want is on the other side of the fear. Other side of fear. You're going to have to go into the unknown. But when you really start to think about that and have a conversation about that on the regular, we're being invited to show up and create in the world from our heart, right? Our heart's desire, the vision we hold for ourselves, the way that we want to be in the world, not only what we want to bring from ideation into reality as a physical product or service in our business and an outcome, but also the way in which we want to roll every day and the person that we want to be in the making of that or in the process of that. And I see with all the people that I mentor, the nutshell is we're being asked to show up in a way and do things in a way we've never done before, or differently to the way we've done it before, or the way we haven't seen really someone else do it. It's our heart way, not someone else's heart way. And so it is inevitable that you're being called into the unknown. It is inevitable that you have to go right up to your edge of the step that you can see, and then take a breath and go past that edge. And that is scary, sometimes terrifying, like downright terrifying. But there is something else that holds you, and I think it's the vision, it's the heart, knowing I get one chance at this life and I'm going to give it a crack, right? What's the worst thing is I take a step towards where I want to go and there's no step and I land on my face, but that will hurt. It will hurt. That is the reality of that. But you will then get back up and kind of look around and be like, oh, I'm going to shuffle my foot that way and take the next step. But I think we're really being invited to, we've got to, that's all we can do, is that we can hold the vision and we can be clear about where we want to go and clear about what we value more than anything in the world and the way that we want to do stuff, and hold that and know that, and then take another step.
So much so, and just listening to you then too, what I was also remembering is that we're being asked to step outside of the textbook and remember, because we're creating from the heart space, it's of us, it's remembering who we really are and what we're wanting to bring through. And that's where, like yourself, with your dream maker, with the mentoring, that dream stream that you're doing, like you're helping people remember who they are and what they want to bring forth. You're holding them accountable to that space. And and I think we do that with each other a lot as well, which holding each other accountable, to who we are and what we're capable of, and having that little bit of extra bravery or courage to as you say, get to the edge of that step and take a step, regardless of whether you can see it or not, but you can feel it there. So, you're doing it.
I think there was a real gift in COVID, that a lot of people probably didn't see, but that was happening underneath all the chaos, which was that we had to get creative. There was a lot of people that had to actually get creative, and we had to find whatever that unique gift that you had to bring that through. And, I think a lot of people have chosen that path now, realizing that, oh, yeah, I can create. I do have something unique that I've got to give, and to trust in their own knowingness around that, and not to stop comparing or stop trying to follow someone else's path, and create their own.
Yeah, I love that. And I think there's this identity of realizing we are creators, like this, when we can start to step into that, it makes it easier to take those unknown steps. As a creator, you start to build the muscle, you build the courage muscle, right? Like, I've done this before. I know that I have to go through the unknown. Kind of sucks ass, but I'm going to go there anyway, because it's good anyway, because I have a dream, I have a vision, my heart is calling me forward. And what's the alternative is stepping back and not going there. And like that pain is worse, right? So
so worse. And especially when you feel it, that it's so much a part of you, and if you're not creating within that part of you, then you're ignoring a big part of you, and how is that part of you going to be expressed otherwise? I mean, you can always reinvent yourself, you can always do something different, but inevitably you find there's that current running through of like, oh, this is another version of what I was doing before, but somehow I thought it was different, but no, it's the same.
It's gonna keep coming back and knocking on the door of your heart and saying, don't forget me, and that's the longing or the desire or the dream or the vision or the thing that gets us excited. Is, I think that will be there with us forever until we pass, and it would be sad. That's what I just keep coming back to, like how heartbreaking that would be if we let all the time pass and not really gave it a red hot go.
Isn't that one of your cards? I think I saw one of your cards literally. Yep.
Yeah. And also too is back to that, letting yourself off the hook. Sometimes things change. You can do it. I don't know, is it a 360 or 180?
Yeah,
what is it?
180. A 180.
You can do a couple of 180s.
Absolutely. And it's okay to change. It's okay to, pull up your roots, start something new. Don't be scared to be stuck somewhere that you thought was going to be the way through, and it's just not working. Then don't be scared to pull up the roots and, bury them somewhere else and start again, plant another seed somewhere. We're souls, we're beings, we're moving and changing and evolving all the time. We're made to stay and do something for 50, 60, 70 years. I don't think that's who we are. I think we're here to experience it all.
Yeah, and I think also as creators, we are multi-passionate, heart-driven humans, and there's so much about what we want to create and what we want to experience and how we want to live, and what we want to do with this precious time and energy that we do have. And then there's this conditioning that once you get on track, you need to stay on track, and I fully resonate with that. And Amanda, when you were talking about kind of going through a rebirthing process in your business, I feel like that wholeheartedly this year. So for the last however many years, I've been in business for myself for years, since my son was 2 and he's just turned 12. And I'm really proud about that, like in that I have been supporting myself and my kids all of that time. And I figured out a way to be in business where I was making 6 figures each year on repeat. But then I got to the end of last year and my body was like, no more. This is not really what your heart wants. There's a book you're meant to be writing. There's other things in the world that you want to create. And if you continue with this framework, with this business model, it's not going to be, it's not feeling, it was great. It was exciting. It was where I wanted to go, but none of that is lost. It's all been preparation for what I'm doing now. But for this year, I literally was like, I'm starting again. I've said to myself, I'm becoming a new person, right? And I changed the branding in my business to Dream Maker, and created the cards, and the podcast changed from the Up Level podcast to Dream Maker podcast. And they're all just surface level things, but on the inside, it is a rebirth, and it's fucking uncomfortable. I'll be honest about that, because I know how to do things a certain way to get a certain outcome, but I don't want to do it that way anymore. And I don't really know, it doesn't always make sense to everybody else, and sometimes even myself. And I've made huge decisions over the last couple of months that have changed the trajectory of my life, but also the the experience of my life. And it might not, it definitely would not make sense to some people. And also there's a part of me that's like, this is cool, this is all part of it. I'm fucking pumped, I'm excited, because I'm back in that recreate. I feel more aligned with where I want to go now. So I do think it's so important for us to keep listening.
Well, that's our Girl Awakening podcast in about 5 minutes, what you just shared, because we find that most women get to a point in their lives where their body will actually tell them, hey, you're on the wrong track. You can't do this anymore. You're pushing shit uphill. You need to change something. And I suppose if I asked you now, if I asked you now, if you were still doing this, what you're doing right now, and earning like a quarter of the money, what would you choose?
I would what I'm doing now, I choose what I'm doing now.
Yeah, because it's an internal, it's a soulful, it's in service, it's all the things that fulfill you that money cannot buy.
But it doesn't make sense, but you feel it anyway. But you feel it and you do it anyway. That's when you're most alive, really, isn't it? Because you're in that space where it's the alchemy of what's possible. You're trusting that.
And I think that word you said, aliveness, is so, so true. Like when I made some decisions to be like, I'm gonna let go of that and let go of that and let go of that, and fuck. But also it's like, I made the decision, make the decision right, get into alignment with, I had this whole feeling in my body and being like, boom, forward momentum, let's go. Like I'm more honoring of who I choose to be now, and what my body is asking for now, and what my heart is asking for now, and what my children are asking for now. And I think there is an evolution process in that. So really acknowledging.
Beautiful. And how beautiful that your kids are watching you do that, which is so powerful. And also that now you'll just get, which you will know, is more brave, more, like expansion, more worthiness, more love, like all of this stuff is just making you become even more powerful.
It's
In a
exciting
beautiful
times,
way.
isn't it? I am aware of the time I told you we'd get into the
Yeah, that's okay.
conversation. It'd be boom like a
Oh,
vortex.
it's so beautiful.
I think I've got one more question that's coming through, and I feel like when we think about bringing Girl Awakening from ideation into reality, you're doing it now, you're learning, evolving along the way. What would you say has been like one of the hardest, toughest, most challenging things throughout that process that you kind of had to move through or overcome, which has also turned out to be a banger, like a great idea, something that's been really in service of the vision that you hold for Girl Awakening?
Oh, that's a hard one.
For me, straight away, where I go with that is back to the 3D-ness, like where a couple of moments where we've sat in a 3D space and it's crushed us.
Can you describe that a little bit more? When you say 3D, I take that as in our humanness and in our roles and the things that we have to do to meet societal needs and business needs, that kind of gets in the way of the 5D, the vision, the dream, where we're going. So, but that's just my interpretation of what you're saying.
No, that's a great interpretation. There's definitely an aspect of that because, you know, we've talked around, you know, where does Girl Awakening go? And as we stay in the authentic space, and that, yeah, that's kind of an evolving conversation without, you know, we haven't got to a space where we feel like we can do that without compromising who we are. And I guess, you know, it's the alignments, you know, whatever. We're just going with our own at the flow. But what I meant was more where, I guess, because we have other lives and things going on in those lives, and then there's a moment where I've brought up something with Jo around how I'm feeling, and it's questioning her, if you want to put it that way. Yeah. And then Jo is reading it in from her perspective. And I'm talking, this is what I'm talking about, the 3D. We're very much in the 3D space where we know how much we love each other, we know how much we trust each other, we know how much we're there for each other, but yet this moment that comes up kind of abandons all that, and we're in that thing of like feeling like
we want to be seen.
Yeah, we want to be seen, and also, but also like we're not relating to the conversation in our higher consciousness. We're relating it to very much in the 3D moment of what it used to be like in the schoolyard or amongst the peer group when, you know, it was hard to find someone that you could trust, or hard to have someone hear you or see you or listen to what you're actually saying. And it's those, we've had a couple of moments of those, I think, because, you know, we've been flying high and it's had to come up to be cleared. And we've gone into the 3D space, gone, ooh, that's a bit yucky, and pulled back on, I know you love me, I know you trust me, I know we believe in each other, let's just go with that and keep going forward. And it's been magical because the everything deepens, and the trust and everything grows even more, and the expansion in ourselves happens as well. So for me, that's a personal side of what's behind the scenes, I guess, of being a part of Girl Awakening, where we've experienced so much and we've received so much by the sheer nature of what the podcast is, and where those little personal speed bumps come in and as a part of that journey. And we've met it, we've had a little pothole, but then we've immediely filled it up with all the right compost and carried on. Yeah.
That's so sad. I love that.
It is
Flowers.
It is so beautifully said.
We're human, you know, that's the thing, I guess, the human aspect of what it means to be working.
Well, it's back to that authenticity.
Yeah,
I really appreciate what you're sharing, because what's coming to me is that there is magic in co-creating, and being in a relationship and doing things together, but that can only come with an equal measure of challenge at the same time. And how many of us in this moment are avoiding co-creating or collaborating or being in a relationship for fear that it might be really challenging and not knowing how to make it through that, and at risk of not wanting to risk the friendship or the state of how things are at this point in time,
or risk just risk the reflection. A lot of us will bypass having to face who we really are or what's really going on. And I love, Amanda and I have been you know, we communicate a lot, which I heard you say at the start, which I just loved, which was everything's happening for me. You know, there's never an accident that something's playing out right in front of you. You know, we are that hall of mirrors where, you know, we walk in and there's different aspects of us 1,000 times in every mirror, but it's still us. You know, and we can look at each one and see the different parts of us in all the people that are right in front of us. But are we willing to look at that and go, this is happening for me? You know, that beautiful soul has come in front of me to teach me something, instead of looking at it as a pain in the ass or fuck off, I've had enough of you today. You know, like that's how we react. You know, that's just the way that we play things out. But if we can be a little bit more forgiving of ourselves and more compassionate, we would start to see that everybody is right in front of us, trying to help us through the next part that we need help with.
Oh my God, what a beautiful way to bring this conversation to a close, because I feel like that is like a boom. And that is my biggest takeaway, the conversation, what you shared in terms of having a greater sense of understanding for yourself and letting yourself off the hook as well as other people, but knowing at the same time that for each and every single one of us, each of those interactions are for us. It's like, I'm listening to you guys thinking what a beautiful gift you are to each other as well as to everybody else. And like you're right, in some kind of soul contract where, you know, however long this goes on for you, there's growth and there's love and there's meeting edges and there's discovering more of who you are. And by the nature of the conversations you're having, then you're obviously, there's this sense of personal responsibility. I can just see it just being so beautiful but deep.
We want to make the most of this life. We want to live it fully. And
me too.
And if you ask for that, you have to be prepared for what you get.
I know. Okay, so let's bring this beautiful conversation, hopefully maybe the first of many, is this conversation to a close. And first of all, massive thank you from my heart to yours. Thank you for sharing it. Look at you both do prayer. Truly from my heart to yours, thank you. I knew the minute I saw you when I found you on socials, I was like, oh, I cannot wait to see what happens.
You felt pretty yummy too.
And I just love how this is all stacking up for us in our favor. I would like to ask you, as we kind of start to piece out, I'm going to pull a card for each of you before we go, a Dreammakers card, but I'd love to hear from you. Did I miss anything? Where do you want to send people to find you? And from each of you, what is your personal takeaway from this conversation?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, you can jump onto Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or our website, girlawakening.com, to listen to any podcast or to find out any info that we have. We have some great tools for awakening on there as well. For me personally, I love winging it. You know, and this morning I was just like, I said to Amanda when I got here, do we know much about the Dreammaker podcast? Do we know? And that's when we quickly jumped on, and we both said, oh, we love her because we saw what you were doing. And it just felt so right to jump on in, not knowing anything. And that's where, for me, I get the most from life, is when I just have no expectations, no assumptions. I make no assumptions. I'm just willing to jump in and see what comes through. And for me, it's just another beautiful connection with a powerhouse of a woman that's doing magical things in this space as well.
Speaking our language.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. And I love your trust. That's one of my most favorite things. And what I want to give to people in the world is learning to trust themselves and trust that in every single moment, if they show up with their whole heart, they can't go wrong, right? They've got something to add. They've got something of value. That's what you're talking about in your beautiful conversations. You could pick anyone off the street and bring them in and be in conversation with them, and there'll be something to learn from that, to resonate with, and you know, we've all got this value to bring to every moment. So I love that sense of trust, but also your willingness to wing it with me, because me too.
Go there. And I want to ask, when people go to, like, you know, I think building community is a beautiful thing. Like, we need, like, podcast to podcast sisters, you know, like it's building community, and it's helping people find their way, and things happen that need to happen in this world happen a lot faster by being a part of those communities. And I think if anyone goes on our socials or goes on and listens to the podcast or the YouTube, drop a comment, because we want to hear what you've got to say. You know, this is what we're all about, is we want to hear you. We want to hear your voice. We're sharing our voices, we're sharing our stories, and we want to hear what you guys have got to say as well. That's what we love too, is getting some feedback, and how what you've heard has touched you or resonated, or it's part of magic. And again, I think with people worry about what, if they say something, is it going to be the right thing to say or whatever? Don't think about it. Just drop
say
something. Say something. Say, you know, and have that be an activation for you as well, because you've dropped something there that you've left a little mark, you know, and you've contributed to what's gone on there. And that's part of what we love about it as well, is, like, you know, how it adds more color and conversation, and has that other ripple effect of changing that bloody algorithm to be more about what is us than them.
I really, really love that you're sharing this. And I say this on my podcast, because I'm like, I want to know who's listening. I want to know who I'm in conversation with, right? Whether it's on socials, or whether it's people who are watching your TikTok or Reels, or listening to your podcast, or watching YouTube. Like, there's one thing to watch and observe. Please do not ever, ever, ever underestimate the impact that you have by then engaging, by then commenting. And it's, you know, yes, for the algorithm, but it's about this connection and growing this community. And when I think about the people that I am now connected with, whether it's in person in my physical local community, and or on the line with all the things that I do in business or podcast, or how we all found each other, that just all comes from moments, like little micromoments of time and energy, and us sharing connection and energy. And you never ever know what's going to come from something like that.
Absolutely.
Creating
space. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Fantastic.
Everyone has something magic to add. I pulled 2 cards when you were talking. I haven't even looked at them, but let's fast. Okay. I love this one so much. Create what is causing a revolution in your heart.
Oh yeah, loving that.
I love that card so much. Do you have a takeaway from that?
Revolution. I love that word in you. That just goes hand in hand.
Is that for you, Amanda?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yay. Cool.
I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. Put it on a t-shirt, Claire. You know.
Oh my God, I can't even tell you all the things that I want to do. One step at a time. Yeah, all right, I'll do that. I'll send you a photo of the card too. But yeah, put that on your fridge, because I think it will just bring you again and again, or on your dashboard. Stick it on your dashboard of your car. Having that reminder, create what's causing a revolution in your heart. Boom, boom. And the other one that came up, all right, so dream big, get real about what you really want, and get on with creating it.
Yeah, that's full on.
That would be my couch. Thank you.
Message received. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone. If you listen to this podcast, take a screenshot, tag us on socials. More than anything, just send us some kind of like message, received. This is what I got out of this conversation, and acknowledge that, you know, Jo and Amanda, you have so much to bring to the world. What you're creating, opening the doors and opening hearts for everyone to feel a greater sense of like safety and trust in themselves and connection and authenticity and resonance and not aloneness. Like, I hope that you feel like so freaking proud of yourself, and you're such a beautiful example of oh, you're holding hands. A beautiful example of like, oh, look at us go. That's what I want you to think about. Like, look at us go. We're doing the thing we really want to do, even though sometimes it feels like a wild ride.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We love what we do, and we are really grateful to have the opportunity to be able to share
with you today and
Yeah.
share with others. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And I'll pop down the bottom of the podcast notes the links to your website and your podcast and all of those things, so that everyone can just go straight there and find you guys.
Oh, thank you, Claire. Thanks for your time.
My absolute pleasure. Mwah. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.